other than, you know what I mean?
Where it's like the green line on stage.
You hear the music playing right now? It's a really interesting story behind that one, really. That's the music. If anything goes wrong in the production, you'll love this. The song Mele Kalikimaka will begin to play, and we have rehearsed hula dancing off stage so that the computers can reset and go back to the top of the scene.
So we should probably go around and introduce ourselves.
I'm John Forkner. I guess you know who I play, sort of, right? What do I say?
Do you know you?
I don't know who I play. Sort of a hybrid Dickens, Marley, Bob Cratchit sort of storyteller kind of character.
I'm Laura Nichols. I'm Sigmar. I'm the drum player. I'm Jenny Reed.
And I'm Reed Bang. So you guys have some questions? Yes.
How many of these, whatever you call them, have you created?
How many productions?
Yes.
What do you call?
What do you call
This is my third. I worked on a piece based on a film called Passion Joan of Arc, which some of you have seen. And then Gin and It, which is Alfred Hitchcock, based on Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, and now ACC Talk.
What do you call this art, a form of theater?
I place it in the theater because that's where I can get funding. Yeah, I've got. I have a history working with a company called the Rooster Group that uses video in not like this, but and so I got some notes because of that, and then some people. This is Pantene, and so I was able to get a funding history that way. So that's why I placed it in the theater. But it's not just theater. It's dance, movies.
Where ideally would you place it?
Here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's I mean, this is exactly. I mean, wherever they're going to give them this money. Really. But I think I think in the theater is the right atmosphere. This one is set up for that. I designed it to be in the theater. However, the Passion Project is a piece that happens in the round, and well, the audience is surrounding a single female performer, and they move around. So it's like a gallery thing. So it's sort of there. But I knew that this one was going to be set like this, so I made it a Victorian stage.
A couple of people were asking how the technology sort of works, or how, what's created here, and then I had another question, which is for the actors, what it's like to interact with the technology. It's like to learn.
You guys go first.
I would say that it's like all those actors that are being projected are actually on stage with you, so you can't do it without them, sort of. Like rehearsal, there's no difference between like a tech rehearsal and a non-tech rehearsal, because the different films are part of it, and like we couldn't do what we do without them, and they wouldn't be the same without us. It's fantastic, really. I have no idea what it looks like, but it's really fun.
Yeah, we would really love
I
to
would
see
love to
this
know
show.
what it looks like. But yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, there's just a tremendous amount of timing that's involved, because a lot of the times, this show is broken up into chapters, and they're not big, they're about 3 minutes long, and so everyone hits the space bar at the same time, and so that's sort of when the roller coaster starts, and we all have to just sort of get on board and hit the marks at the right time. And if we're a little bit late, we got catch up, or we got to slow down, and we really have to kind of gauge where the video is before the next chapter starts. So
The sound and video, so like the pauses in the sound where like John is talking or someone else is talking, pause is the same every night. So like, we don't have those, like, we can't just, go on for as long as we want, or, go really fast, because there will actually be audio that will cut in and cut out at the same moment every
Yeah.
night.
So any monologue that you may have heard us
Yeah.
actually saying, it's bracketed within a certain length of time
Yeah.
before the video picks back up.
Yeah.
So we don't have as much time as we want to say whatever we want, which is good for you guys, because you get out in 75 minutes.
This is Chris Moore.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hello there.
So, I mean, something I'm fascinated with is watching performers keep up with the computer. And so I designed the software that we use to play back using an object-oriented programming environment called MaxMSP Jitter. And basically what I did was I modeled a computer lighting board and also a soundboard in the functionality. To two objects that I understood and knew. So instead of a lighting board controls a number of different lights, however, it controls their intensity from 0 to 100. And then you can write a look and record that as a cue. And then you can call back every number of cues. So that's something I'm doing similar, but not intensity of light. I'm controlling the X, Y, Z axis of the films, the cropping, color, things like that. And so, as they're talking about, there are these anywhere between 3 and 4 minute, or maybe 10-minute chunks that all the looks are made, where all the video plays, and it all comes back based on the timing. So it all is based on the position of the film or the playhead in the video. And so we all hit go at the same time, and they're keeping up with the technology while the technology just pops it all over the screen.
And it's like the computer's telling it which projector to come from, so it like decides where it goes on the stage, and then it goes in the same place every night.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I was just wondering how actors know where to place the screens at that particular point in space. It's usually that close to spot.
When we rehearsed this, years of training, actually we did rehearse this for almost a year and a half. And the way we did it was we were in a great big loft space, and we had everything taped out, so the stage, the dimensions of the stage and all the set pieces were taped on the floor. But what Reed had done was he put the video together and he projected it on the back wall of the loft. And so when it came time for us to screen something, we were watching the video, and we would hold up the screen, and then we might have to chase it around, and we were just constantly watching the video, such that when we came in here, we knew about where, like up or down or wherever we needed to kind of be in order to catch the video. And then outside of that, just a lot of practice. And also, the little tape marks aren't just for the furniture. Like there's a Kermit the Frog that I catch, that I know that if I have the ball of my left foot on that green tape mark there, and I put it right in front of my face, I'll know that I'll catch Kermit every time. And so there are all these little tricks that you have to develop in order to, I mean, that's just what I do. I don't know if you guys do.
Well, some of the screens are clear or see-through,
Yeah.
and that'll help if you're standing behind it. A lot of it's muscle memory.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tricks, so there's, if you're standing slightly downstage of the image, you should be able to catch it and find it.
Bravo on that.
Did you guys recognize any Christmas carols from your past, your childhood? Anyone? No?
Yes.
All of these never seen Christmas carols.
No,
I-
I think there's a question.
Yeah, I had a question. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to phrase this right, but so when you're watching actors act these parts in like a whole bunch of different movies and shows, there's probably like things that you find ways like there'll be like essentially like tropes, like people will act things in the same way, and then there'll be like subversions of this. And since like I'm not like you almost become like a foodie or something of like Christmas Carol movies. So I was wondering like what you guys had to say about like the characters that you played.
Well, I think we all have sort of favorite parts of favorite films. And so I think at this point, after a few weeks, we kind of speak to each other before and after the show in these certain tropes. But yeah, I think, you know, different films will resonate with each one of us in different ways. It is kind of a bizarre thing to get into, say, in like August. Right?
Being Merry Christmas,
July,
like,
and
oh,
just
yeah.
like, you know, talking about Christmas a lot. Yeah, we would talk about what our favorite Scrooges were, or what we thought about, you know, the Cratchit family, and our opinions differ.
And that's
Yeah.
very much how I developed the piece. I listened to them in rehearsal, and what I was doing is I was creating mashups and bringing them in, and they would enact them, and then they would say, I like this one, I don't like this one, I like this one, I don't like this one, and I just kept all the ones they liked.
But the thing that that was sort of our plumb line for this project, which Sing was sort of in charge of, was the integrity of the Dickens text. So there are so many Christmas carols out there, like we didn't use Ghost of Girlfriend's Past with Matthew McConaughey, which is also based on a Christmas carol, because we, for example, or a Barbie's Christmas Carol, or a Diva's Christmas Carol, because we were initially started out with the idea of putting together a totally Dickens word for word piece. So anything, so you may have noticed a couple times, like in the Marley scene or in the Belle scene, we did some tricky editing to make a line that's actually in the book that's not in any of the film versions, and that's really what Sing's job, that was like one of her big things anyway, was making sure that we were staying on track. So that sort of was our guideline for what stays and what we can really consider as a movie to use versus what can we kind of toss away, which is interesting because Mickey's Christmas Carol, which I know all of you guys know, anyone who grew up in the 80s knows that one. It has like 2 lines from the Dickens, boiled in his own pudding and God bless us everyone, but we had to use it because everyone knows it, right? So it was tricky trying to find the places where we could put that one in, but that was really kind of...
But I think some of the joy came from the derivations of it,
Mhm.
you know, and having like Scrooge.
Yeah. And what we would do is we would use like the modern version of like the Bill Murray, like in the Scrooge and Belle scene, we start with maybe we should separate for a while, which tells you this is what the scene's about. And then we go in and do it in Dickens' way. Or we end with one from 1901, which, or the Thomas Edison from 1910, which is, you've just seen that Marley scene again, but how they saw it back in the day. So that's sort of what helped us structure that as well. Yeah.
So I guess I have to ask then, like, what's everybody's favorite Scrooge and why?
I like Scrooge. It's just what I grew up with.
Okay.
I like Alistair Sim or Seymour Hicks, which are the both sort of older.
Seymour Hicks
What,
is
Seymour
this
Hicks?
one.
And I like all the, I really like the Thomas Edison one, right? Yeah, the silent ones where he wears the big conical hat.
Yeah, it's
All
really
the
creepy.
silent ones with the sort of 19th century acting styles.
I really like the Jim Carrey. It's really good.
I like that one. I like the whole film of that because it's
Yeah.
so much like the book. But my favorite Scrooge is Seymour Hicks because he's the most vulnerable. And I think that's something that a lot of versions don't tap into. And I think it's so funny that people are like, oh, such a Scrooge. And I'm like, he went through this whole journey. But, you know, it's like every time you bring up Scrooge, it's like it's right back where he started.
Right.
Yeah, I think we were all really surprised by how much we liked the Jim Carrey version. We were expecting.
We didn't
very
wanna
much.
like it.
We didn't want to like it, but it's really pretty good. Check it
It's
out.
really good.
I'm gonna concur with saying here that the Seymour Hicks, the 1935, that's the first sound version of A Christmas Carol that was ever put to film. And that was before it had become quite the cliche that it is now. And so the line readings are really rather fresh. You can find the whole thing on YouTube, 1935 Christmas Carol. It's actually called Scrooge. That's another thing, in finding these movies, you couldn't always search for Christmas Carol. Many of them are called Scrooge.
Marley's
Or, yeah. So, yeah, I in doing this project, I think the 35 is probably my favorite.
Well, I should maybe start off saying that Sandra and I were not part of the year and a so I don't feel like I have seen as many versions of A Christmas Carol, but I did watch the Jim Carrey version because it was talked about so much, and I felt like I got a very good sense of the story from that, which was really helpful. So I guess I would say that. Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Growing up in Middle Europe, I am not so much familiar with the Christmas Carol actually. So we know Dickens and we know about the Christmas Carol. But, I think the Muppets is still very popular, and people know about Lord Fauntleroy, the Little Lord, little story. But the Christmas Carol, it's strange. It's not so film-wise not so familiar to us. So what I really know is the Michael Caine version of the Muppets. Pop culture. Yeah.
Jenny and Sandrine joined us when we moved into the space, so about 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. And they learned everything here. And they worked very quickly.
Call them the ninjas.
Yes. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Two questions. Why do you think that they chose the Christmas Carol to make so many remakes of it? And why did you choose to use repetition and some lines and not others?
I think that A Christmas Carol and all the versions is just such a timely story, and or timeless story rather, and that there's something really profoundly moving about redemption, and I think that's why it's so popular. Is that it's very, very human story.
And the repetition is important to me because of trying to hear this for the first time. And by trying to put like one person saying it one way versus right next to somebody saying it a different way, makes you think about, for me, it makes you think about what they're saying, and it doesn't sort of pass over you. This story is so well known that especially people in theater, most people have performed in this, once in American theater, once in a life or seen a version of it. So to make it new, I tried to make you listen to it by playing them time and time again, so you're interested in the differences. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta read it down the street. That